Nikhil.
Good morning, sir.
Nikhil, tell us briefly about your academic qualifications, your work experience, if you have worked somewhere, and your main hobbies.
So I'm a graduate in electrical engineering from IT Delhi. I have worked at the Center for Policy Research, which is under Department of Science and Technology. And my hobbies include, I'm a very good Bhangra dancer, and in my father's opinion, I'm a mediocre blues guitarist.
So your hobby and your place of birth and your place of domicile, they of course go hand in hand.
Yes,
You're from Punjab.
Right, sir.
And I believe you are from SAS Nagar, Mohali.
Yes, sir.
Right? So during the Punjab elections, Nikhil, were you in Punjab? Did you vote?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. So tell me, if you were keeping a track of elections in Punjab, whether the news media, they were reporting that the percentage of polling, the voting percentage in this 22 elections assembly, they fell very sharply, the turnout, 7-8% less.
Yes, sir.
So what do you think could be the reason for this less turnout?
So there are multiple reasons that could have contributed to this. One is there was a general sense of despondency with the existing political setup. As you would know, that Punjab has had alternating governments from different parties for the last almost 50 years, except for one or two exceptions. But the continuing deteriorating outcomes, as far as the economy is concerned, society is concerned, law and order is concerned, that led to a certain disenchantment with the state of affairs as far as politics is concerned, which depressed the turnout to a certain extent. Secondly, sir, in the last few years, especially out-migration has increased significantly from Punjab towards the Western nations, which I believe could also have contributed because if lakhs of people of voting age are not in Punjab, they would not be able to vote.
So Nikhil, you are an electrical engineer from IIT.
Yes, sir.
Now, while the government is concentrating and we are all very euphoric about electric vehicles, revolution of electric vehicles, I would say. Suddenly, this incident of electric vehicle catching fire, has happened and government has even ordered inquiry. Now, you think that this will be a big setback for the kind of pace and progress that India is registering in the area of electric vehicles?
The incident is unfortunate, but whether it will have an impact on the rate of adoption of electric vehicles depends on how we would respond to it. The fact is, electric vehicles is still a new and emerging technology, and the safety safeguards are still evolving. And it will take time for the technology to mature. If we recall, even when mobile phones first came into the market, there were incidents of batteries catching fire. But the companies did excellent work in that regard, and today they are mostly safe. So if the companies concerned, the EV companies concerned, are transparent in their processes, take full accountability for their actions, and make public the safety measures that they're incorporating going forward, I think that will lead to public re-winning the public trust and hopefully not damage our electric vehicle journey.
I could see from your DAF that you had gone to Sydney, Australia,
yes,
for represented India. Now tell me, what, in terms of the security in the Indo-Pacific area, what are the common fears of Australia and India that they had to get together in Quad? We are so far away.
So there's increasing Chinese belligerence, I would say, in the Indo-Pacific region, which has been seen with the increasing claims in the South China Sea in particular. Also, Chinese submarine presence has been detected in Indian Ocean and in the Southern Pacific Ocean, which is right next to Australian borders. Also, China's response during the COVID pandemic, restricting imports from Australia in response to Australian calls for an inquiry into the origins of coronavirus, shows that China is not willing to be a cooperative global player. So in that regards, China and Australia and India both see it in their common interest for like-minded democracies to collaborate in the Indo-Pacific region to ensure freedom of navigation and overflight, and not let Indo-Pacific become China's own backyard sea.
Tell me, Nikhil, Sydney is also emerged as a hub for Indian students to go and study there.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is so attractive about Australia and Sydney in particular that they don't find in India?
Sir, I have limited awareness on this issue, but regarding from my conversations with a few friends who have immigrated, it seems there are better job opportunities which are available for fresh graduates in Australia. And also students there take part-time jobs which pay better than they do in India. And a lot of students from economically disadvantaged background do prefer to migrate to Australia.
So Nikhil, I pass on to Mr. Khanna. He will ask you the next set of questions.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Nikhil.
Hello, sir.
You are from IIT Delhi and electrical engineering, and you have also worked as a project scientist.
Yes, sir.
Are you still working as a project scientist in IIT?
No, sir. No, sir. I left that job. It was a 2-year contract.
Okay. So what was your role as a project scientist there?
Sir, it was a large project funded by Department of Science and Technology, which focused on the question, how should we prioritize our R&D investments? So for that, my role was to first map out the research output from India and internationally, which can help us compare our research output, global research output, identify the trends across time and regions, and then see what are the areas that we want to focus on. So what I did was I took all of the research papers that Indians publish in different journals. I conducted a natural language processing analysis, which would lead to a dashboard. So for example, you want to know what was the research conducted on maize crop or on electric vehicles or on a particular type of battery in India. So you would just put that query and you would find all the people who have worked on that and the trends over time. Is this area increasing in interest globally and in India, or is this in declining in interest? And also you can identify are there different researchers across different universities who are working on similar problems, who may not be aware of each other's presence. And the Department of Science and Technology can put them in touch, especially because we want to encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. Such a tool was found to be very useful in mapping out the space of Indian R&D.
And you think everything is all right with the research systems in India, especially research in IITs? Or do you think some more improvement is required to promote research, because India is lagging behind in research in various fields?
So there's always scope for improvement. But I would want to credit India's research community, which has performed very well. Even though India spends around 0.7% of its GDP on R&D, our research output ranks amongst the top 5 in the world. And we are continuously improving our innovation and R&D parameters. As far as further improvement is concerned, the new science, technology and innovation policy has laid down an excellent roadmap in that regard, in which it provides incentives for publishing in high quality international journals. It provides incentives for IP creation based on research, which was one huge lacuna. Our research was not being translated into the market. The market linkages were absent. And the new policy emphasizes creating academic industrial linkages so that our research can actually power our economic growth as well. Number 3.
Okay. I think we will continue this with the new education policy.
Okay, sir.
2020.
Yes,
so what are the things that will help promote research in future in India under new education policy?
Sir, there's a lot of emphasis on interdisciplinarity in higher education under the new education policy. For example, the credit system that has been introduced, it allows students to choose the courses that they want to pursue from different departments. There's also a multiple entry and exit system whereby a student can enroll, continue studies for 2 years, go and work if they want to, and then come back and complete their education. So this kind of allows a greater interaction between the industry and academia, greater choice to students, a greater who can themselves see what are the emerging areas where employers would need their skill set and can then choose their courses on the basis of that. And there's also provision for foreign universities of good international rankings to come and establish their institutes in India, and for Indian institutions to expand abroad, which would help us engage better with the international research ecosystem.
Okay, and do you think doing away with MPhil course help research?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the exact
You're not aware
reasons.
that MPhil is proposed to be removed now from curriculum?
Sir, I am, but the exact reasons for that and its impact, I'm not.
All right. So let's come back to Punjab.
Yes, sir.
Punjab results are pointed to what? What kind of things prevailed in Punjab that led to the present results? Why people were so unhappy?
So the first was the disenchantment with the existing political leadership, which has been seen in the defeat of former chief ministers, deputy chief ministers, and ministers en masse. That was because Punjab's economic indicators, social security indicators have been declining over the past 20 years. The second reason is Punjab and Delhi's close social linkages. A lot of people have family in Delhi. There's a lot of business linkages between Delhi and Punjab. And the narrative of improvement in schools and healthcare sector in Delhi did have a significant constituency in Punjab, which led to a vote for the Aam Aadmi Party.
Okay. We'll talk about green hydrogen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is this green hydrogen, and where does India stand in renewable energy targets?
So green hydrogen is hydrogen that is extracted using renewable energy. So hydrogen is obtained by reaction by acting on water molecules, splitting them up into hydrogen and oxygen. And the energy that is used to split up that molecule can be derived either from fossil fuels or renewable energy. So using renewable energy leads to green hydrogen. So India is targeting 450 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. That was the target at the COP26 that we announced. As far as particularly green hydrogen is concerned, there is a significant initiative taken in that regard. Even private sector is coming in. Reliance, I believe, is leading a coalition to invest in green hydrogen infrastructure, because it will be useful not just in fuel cells and powering transportation sector, but also for industrial needs, because hydrogen is a significant raw material, for example, in urea fertilizer plants. But it is still in the nascent stage. It needs more investment and R&D for us to tap into the full potential of green hydrogen.
Okay. Your optional is maths.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So two quick questions on maths. How do you define mathematics? And is mathematics an invention or a discovery?
So I'm not aware of the academic definition. I can tell you my view with your permission. So mathematics, in my view, is a set of rules that we have established to be able to understand the natural world better. So to give you an example, say we see many trees and we want to plant more trees. Now, how do we understand how many trees do we have and how many more trees do we need? So for that, we establish certain rules, for example, the rules of natural numbers, which allow us a way of quantifying where we are and where we want to be. And that is a basic principle, I believe, behind all mathematical formulations. As far as a discovery or
whether maths is a discovery or invention.
So there's a huge philosophical debate in this regard amongst the philosophers of science. In my view, sir, I see mathematics as a discovery because there are lots of examples where first axioms were laid out and pure mathematics was developed. And then we later found that that was applicable in the physical world. So the real world gave us examples where those axioms and the results held true. The greatest example is probably of string theory. The multiple hyperdimensional geometry was developed as a pure mathematics field in the early 20th century. But the idea of string theory comes into physics in the mid 20th century. And that was an application that was not comprehended by mathematicians. But the fact that it explains some real world phenomenon, like it gives me a sense that there is something like mathematics that exists out there that we're just discovering.
Okay, very good. So it's both discovery as well as
invention of the human. Yes,
we'll discuss about it later. And one quick question: n is a set of natural numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. M is a set of all even numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8. Which is bigger, n or m?
Sir, could you give me a minute to think, sir? A few seconds to think. Sir, the idea of countability in sets, using that, I think we can define a one-on-one relationship from one set to the other. And because of that, I would regard both as equal sets, neither being greater than the other.
Very good, very good.
Thanks.
You are from Delhi, you have studied in Delhi.
Yes, sir.
So tell me about 7 Delhis that India has had. Can you quickly recall the 7 Delhis? Some people call it 8, some even go to the extent of 9. So I am asking you to just give me the names of 7 Delhis.
So there are only a few that come to mind. I will not be able to recall all 7.
Okay, okay, tell me.
So one was Indraprastha that we find in our in the Mahabharata mention. There's Dhilika under Raja Tomar. I forget his full name. Established Dhilika. There's Shahjahanabad under the Mughal ruler Shah Jahan. And then we have New Delhi that was established by the British rulers. So these are a few that come to my mind immediately.
Okay, okay. Let's come to these social development parameters of Delhi. Give me 3 social development parameters of Delhi. And compare these with Punjab, because you hail from Punjab and you have studied in Delhi. So 3 social development parameters of Delhi and compare these with Punjab.
I'm sorry, sir, I have to read up more on this. I cannot recall the statistics off the top of my head.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Sumesh.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Nikhil, I would like to talk on Indian economy.
Sir.
I would like to give you analysis of Indian economy in present times. If you can give us SWOT analysis of Indian economy.
The Indian economy is recovering from the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. There was a huge disruption. Even before that, the last 5 years have seen disruption in terms of demonetization, the impact of GST, which led to declining growth rate. And on top of that, the lockdowns caused by COVID led to another disruption. But we are improving.
Yeah. If you can give a SWOT analysis.
Okay. So the strengths of Indian economy include a very fast-growing IT sector. We are doing very well as far as startup investments are concerned. This was our best year, $75 billion. We have excellent FDI numbers, over $80 billion. We also have the agriculture sector, which is doing very well in the last 2 years, a growth rate of over 3.5%, especially with the current Russia-Ukraine crisis.
Answer not to waste.
Russia-Ukraine crisis, we are improving our presence in the global commodities market. So weaknesses include our education system, which is producing youth who are unemployable, less than 50% as far as the last India Skills report goes. Another weakness is our health parameters. The latest nutrition survey has shown that our nutrition outcomes are lagging, which directly leads to impact on productivity of a population. Number 3 is increasing global deglobalization, so increasing trade barriers, which is limiting our presence in export markets. There are strengths and weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, sir. So opportunity is the rise of digital technologies. India is investing in a big way in critical and emerging technologies like AI, blockchain. We have national strategies in this regard. We're also collaborating amongst the core nations. We have a working group established, which is a significant opportunity for us. We also have production-linked incentive schemes, whereby we are targeting specific sectors like semiconductors, automobiles, technical textiles, for the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat and improving our domestic competitiveness vis-a-vis the international economy. And so a significant threat would be, sir, the continuing deglobalization and rising Chinese assertiveness, which may cause us to divert our budget towards military and defense needs versus investing in economy and infrastructure needs.
Okay. What is your view on taxation on virtual digital assets?
So virtual digital assets, if you could specify, are you referring to cryptocurrency? So cryptocurrency, as of yet, we do not have any regulatory system for cryptocurrency. We're not sure if we can classify it as a currency or an asset. So is it under RBI or SEBI? First, a regulation is necessary. There we have significant divergence of views, whether the benefits outweigh the costs. If it is accepted as a legal asset, then definitely it should be taxed on par with other assets. Because any difference, say cryptocurrency is not taxed, it will lead to divergence of India's savings into cryptocurrency, and which can destabilize the economy. Say if people channelize investments from the stock market into crypto assets, that will not be good for the overall macroeconomy.
Okay. I would like to know from you the impact of Russia-Ukraine war, number one, on world economy, and secondly, on Indian economy.
So the Russia-Ukraine war, in the immediate term, it has had a significant impact on the particular commodities that Russia and Ukraine supply to the world. For example, cereals. There's a significant wheat shortage, because of which there's an increase in wheat prices in the international market. It also is said to have an impact on electric vehicles, specifically on semiconductors, chip shortage, because Ukraine is a significant supplier of neon gas, which is used in chip manufacturing. In the long term, sir, the breakdown of trade linkages between Russia and the West will lead to a significant impact. For example, I believe the Nord Stream 2 pipeline from Russia to Germany has been shut down. There are also there are also already sanctions paid on Russia with regards to most sectors apart from oil and gas. And as I previously mentioned, this deglobalization would lead to fragmented global economy, which is bad for recovery from the coronavirus lockdowns.
And my last question is, why civil services, Nikhil? You are from IIT Delhi and still your passion for civil services, why so?
So civil services is a childhood dream. I was very young in school when I came across some excellent actions that had been taken by civil servants. I would like to highlight one. Mr. Krishan Kumar, a Punjab cadre IAS officer, was able to improve sex ratio in Nawashahar district as a DM from 795 to 940 within a span of 2 years. That had a big impact on me. So I was in seventh or eighth standard at the time. And I wanted to contribute in a similar manner to the nation's growth. I went to IIT because I felt that having a technological skill set would enable me to better serve in a governance capacity as well. In fact, the improvement in child sex ratio involved using Excel files to monitor the pregnancies in the entire district at the time, at the village level, at the household level, which was very new at the time. This is 2005, and computers were very new at the time. So that I've wanted to pursue technology as a graduation subject, and IITs were the best. So I went there and I learned the skill set. But I believe I would be able to much better serve in the policy making process, making sure that the right ecosystem is created whereby technology can serve the poorest and the most marginalized of Indians.
Okay, I pass on to Chairman.
Nikhil, you have you read about the Hindus to be given minority status? There is some EIL going on, and government has also taken a stand. Have you read this news?
Sir, I've not read this in detail, but I am aware of the issue that you are referring
Okay,
to.
so I wanted to know your views about the issue, whether Hindus in minority, wherever they are in minority, and Punjab is one of the states where they are in minority, J&K, Northeast and all. So will it be appropriate to grant them minority status, which the center is looking for?
So in principle, it does seem to be a defensible position. Specifically, if we look at the spirit behind Article 29 and 30 that refer to protection of minority interests as far as educational institutions and protection of heritage, culture, literature, language goes, particularly with regards to the sectors in which state governments have regulatory authority. For example, in education as a subject in concurrent list, and other sectors which are on the state list, the similar dynamics, the reasons for which we have protection of minority interests under Article 2930, they pertain also to the sectors under the control of state government. And in those sectors, it would be reasonable to provide similar protections to the state level minority community.
Nikhil, we have covered a lot of ground, and the last question that I would like to ask from you would be from the subject of your choice, which you will select.
So I would some of my hobbies like blues guitar is something that I'm very passionate
Sorry,
about.
come
My
again.
hobby, blues guitar, is a hobby that I'm very passionate about.
Your hobbies, which one you want to pick up?
So any of them, Bhangra, blues guitar, or my tenure as the quizzing club president is
I
something.
think your internship with Rajya Sabha MP is arousing interest. So what is the kind of NSS activity that you were attached with the Rajya Sabha MP?
Sir, an organization came to our institution through the NSS to hire interns for Rajya Sabha MP. So I was selected as one of the interns for Rajya Sabha MP from Karnataka, Mr. Anil Lard, under which I was, my job was to frame questions for question hour. And also I had an opportunity to write a speech for him on the issue of Hyderabad Karnataka Amendment Bill. He was not able to deliver it because of time constraints, but that was a very proud moment for me.
So tell me, Rajya Sabha elections, how are the Rajya Sabha elections held?
How are they held?
Elections to how, like the Honorable MP with whom you work, how would he be selected? Like, what is the process of election for a Rajya Sabha MP?
So the elections are held on the basis of proportional representation. The MLAs in the concerned state, they cast their votes. It's an open ballot. It's not a secret ballot. And so mostly the voting happens on party lines. And that is how the MPs get elected.
When you say it is an open ballot, can the candidate, I mean, can the voter, after putting his vote, can he show who he has voted for before he puts the ballot paper into the ballot box? Is it that open?
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly. I remember a controversy regarding Haryana
What was that?
MP elections. It was a few years ago. Mr. Subhash Chandra, who heads the Z group, there was a controversy during his election regarding a similar issue. I'm not aware of what the exact provision is.
I think you're not aware of that. All right. So Nikhil, thank you very much.
So Nikhil, how do you feel yourself after this mock? Where do you think you stand?
So there were some areas that I wanted to improve. In a previous mock, I had got the feedback that I speak too fast. So I was conscious to be slower. I don't know how much I succeeded, but I did work on that consciously. Secondly, sir, the specific questions that you asked, so for example, the social development indicators, I should be aware of that. That's something very basic, education, health. I'm sorry, I was not able to answer that, sir. Apart from that, sir, I try to give the answers to the best of my ability.
No, you were good. You have reasonably well assessed and analyzed yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Your time management is an issue. When you know too much, you want to come out. When you don't know, then also you want to take a lot of time. So you perhaps are in the first category where you know too much, but you need to condense your replies. Okay. When I was talking about research in IIT, so perhaps you were so well conversant, but your reply was very long. So try and manage your time. No replies should be more than 90 seconds to 2 minutes. That is the generally speaking, unless the board member, I think at one stage I had to stop you also.
Right.
And perhaps that was the reason that you were taking more time. Number two is on specifics, for example, Delhi. So if you are from Delhi and you are from Punjab, then comparative things about Delhi and Punjab. It can be history, it can be white revolution, green revolution, stubble burning in Punjab. Will things improve in Delhi? Definition of mathematics, you said there is no universally accepted definition, but then there is a universally accepted definition of mathematics. So you can look it up. It is called study of patterns. Okay. So you went on in detail and explaining what is mathematics. We are just interested. Your reply on and M was absolutely right. You could have perhaps used the term countable infinity.
Right.
Countable infinities, and that's how they are equal. Rest all, you were good project scientist. Again, you took a lot of time, but then it's only a matter of practicing and control your speed. You were at times very fast. So this is what, but you were good. Your body language is very good. Your smile showed confidence. Your replies showed that you know your subject well.
Thank you, sir.
And your benchmark in any case will be higher than an average student. I asked you questions on renewable energy targets and green hydrogen. You did not mention about private sector investment in green hydrogen and the target set by PM on making green hydrogen. India is a hub for green hydrogen. Okay, so bullet point your ideas in mind. And you are electrical engineer, so maybe NPAs in power sector and various other issues on renewable energy in power production. Where do we stand today? Because that is one of the biggest areas of concern. All right, rest all you are doing well, but for the point that I have brought up.
I will work on them, sir. Thank
Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Over to you, Vinodji.
Thank you. So, Nikhil, endorsing what Khanna Sahab has mentioned, I will not repeat. When it comes to your physical, turnout, you have to wear jacket. I'm sure you know, and your DAF, whether you were sporting this stubble and beard during in your photograph, was it there?
Sorry, sir.
In your photograph,
yes, sir.
Were you sporting? I mean, you had this stubble and beard.
Yes, sir. This is right. So this was
there the photograph also.
Yes, sir.
So you maintain how you appeared in the photograph. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So since you are, comfortable with this attire, it is good. Now, coming to your overall personality, you are very confident about everything. And as Mr. Khanna has mentioned, those things where you knew a bit too much, you were a bit longish. For example, on the Hindu minority status thing,
So,
you gave a very long answer. And even for this Rajya Sabha thing, you gave a very long answer. Sydney, since you have been to Sydney, do expect a question, on Australia related. That's why I refer to Quad, because Australian Prime Minister had even during Ukraine war said that, we would not like to bring, that kind of situation to the Indo-Pacific, which means that everyone is concentrating on Ukraine war and not concentrating on expansionism of China, in Indo-Pacific region. Plus, Sydney, I have been to Sydney, and we all know, we keep hearing and seeing all the universities of Sydney. It's very popular for Indian students.
right.
So just a possible question. So know more about Sydney, even if you have gone for a day,
So,
since you have mentioned in your DAF,
right.
so it may catch attention.
Understood.
Electrical engineering area, of course, will be a very important topic to ask questions from. And electrical vehicles, I thought of asking you. Then power sector reforms, energy policy, and many more announcements which the Prime Minister made on 15th August with regard to our energy preparedness. At the end of this, when India achieves the centenary of Indian independence,
Right.
so dependence on coal, climate change, emissions, renewable energy, all these. So go through the Ministry of Energy, Renewable Resources, and related ministries.
So,
The websites ko dekh lo.
okay, sir.
It will give you an idea as to what is happening on the government side.
Understood.
You can also go through the annual reports, the last annual report.
So,
They're very handy because most of the questions which UPSC members may ask, they have some link with the government
right.
as to how you would apply to the government program. So it's better that you know the government programs and the
Right.
government's policies beforehand.
Right.
It will be easier for you to sort of transfer. Now, some of the don'ts that you should not have done. One is about when you were asked about why civil services.
So,
So you mentioned childhood dream, and you
Yes.
mentioned somebody, Mr. Kishan Kumar, and then many more things. You were very longish in that answer. That is one.
so,
Don't mention childhood में 5 साल के बच्चे को क्या ध्यान होता है, IAS क्या होता है.
so,
So don't use that proverbial childhood dream thing.
understood.
At least, in this interview.
Understood.
Be very mature, be very practical.
So,
You mentioned about your contributions to the services or to the nation. You talked about being influenced by some IAS officer, and you talked about childhood dream. Now, what you should not talk either of these, any of these,
okay, sir.
and should talk about the good points about civil services.
Understood.
But I liked your idea when you said that I did IIT because of this, I did take a job because of this. You need not mention that also. It is only when somebody says, oh, you have done IIT, then why do you want to shift this, that? Then you give this reason.
Right.
Otherwise, straight away, sir, I was always wanting to go in public services, right from the time I passed my schooling. See, normally when you are doing 10th or 12th, then you start thinking, what do you want to become?
Right.
Parents भी आपसे पूछते हैं बेटा क्या करना चाहोगे. That is the
Right.
time when you have to select your subjects also,
Right.
around 10th. वो भी बताने की जरूरत नहीं है कि मैं 10th में जब था, so and I was always wanting, and I qualified, I did IIT and job also, but at the same time I have been continuously preparing for the civil services, and I've I've come to this stage. So I'm passionate about service. And why? Because job, the challenges and opportunities,
Right.
your career prospects, you are able to serve the public, and your outreach is much larger.
Right.
Your decisions affect a large number of people.
Right.
You have greater job satisfaction.
Right.
So come out with these.
Understood.
Don't bring your dad, don't bring your Krishan Kumarji or anyone else,
Understood.
and your dreams also. Okay. So इसको थोड़ा सा ठीक कर लेना, and longish नहीं हो, बहुत short and crisp हो.
So
Then another thing which I noticed was that you were deliberately smiling a bit too much, or I don't know whether it is of the way you talk. But I
I'm
think
usually smiling.
it was more of, I think, your natural reflex.
Yes, sir.
So इसको थोड़ा कम करो.
Okay, sir.
उससे क्या लग रहा था, थोड़ा informality आ जाती है. So you should look serious about making some point.
Correct.
The moment you smile, ऐसा लगता है जैसे the answer that you are giving is just very casual, and you are just trying to try this answer and see whether it is okay or not. It's just that when you are not sure about any particular answer, that you tend to smile. Sir, I'm sorry, sir, I'm just trying, I'm not very well aware. But if you smile all the time, ऐसा लगेगा जैसे every answer is, you're shaky about every answer. Right. I hope you have understood the point that I'm trying to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So these are some of the points, Nikhil. Otherwise, your personality. I mean, when it comes to IITN, the expectation of the board is much higher. They see from that lens also.
Right.
So इसलिए उस मामले में आपको थोड़ा सा और तैयारी challenges ज़्यादा हो जाती हैं.
Understood.
And from all, another thing is, when I asked you about voting percentage कम हुआ, so be very careful. You probably started with, there is a despondency about the working of the governments, something like that.
Yes, sir.
Avoid करो उसको.
Okay, sir.
Political हो जाएगा ये.
Sir.
इसके अलावा जो पॉइंट ध्यान में आए वो आप करो. माइग्रेशन है ना,
Right.
लोग apathy है, voters apathy.
Right.
Right? Then people are not at their homes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe the wedding season.
February. Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, I was there in Punjab during elections.
Okay.
I was special election observer there. I stayed for a month. So I went around. So I'm telling you from the actual, the reasonings.
Thank you, sir.
So उनको cover करो. And
Yes.
ये भी कह सकते हो कि sir, there can be other reasons related to political parties.
Right.
वो अपने आप पता है कि भाई एंटी इनकम्बेंसी है, नहीं देना चाहते भाई, है ना,
Right.
तो उसको लास्ट प्रायोरिटी दो.
Sir.
And there could be other reasons, sir, maybe because of the political scenario. ऐसा कुछ हो सकता
Understood.
है ना. It is not hinting at a particular party.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Nikhil, this is what from my side. If you have any questions to ask from us, please go ahead.
No, sir, this is excellent, great feedback, sir. Thank you. I will work on this.
So इसमें करो. When is your interview?
So I have time. It's on 23rd of May.
Very good. So इसको करो और structured answers बनाओ, Nikhil.
Yes, I'll work on that.
DAF में से 10, 20, 50 क्वेश्चंस बना लो. ये पूछ सकते हैं, ये पूछ सकते हैं, पंजाब का पूछ सकते हैं, मोहाली का पूछ सकते हैं, SAS नगर कैसे पढ़ा,
Right.
है ना, बाकी SBS नगर कैसे पढ़ा, क्या उसके पीछे हिस्ट्री है ना. मोहाली is a चंडीगढ़ जैसा ही मोहाली बना है. हाउ डू यू सी अबाउट अर्बनाइजेशन.
Right.
चंडीगढ़ के बारे में भी पूछ सकते हैं कि इट इज अ यूनिक एग्जांपल ऑफ गुड आर्किटेक्चर.
Right.
Why other cities have not come like Chandigarh.
Right, sir.
Recently, there was a news that Chandigarh के बारे में कुछ criticism था that it will not be able to grow further because of वो ला कार्बूजियर को उन्होंने criticize कर दिया architect point of view से.
Okay.
So, see, member ने पढ़ा हो तो पूछ सकता है कि भाई you
Right.
think Chandigarh planning which used to be considered as one of the best, it's no longer
Yes.
growth के लिए अच्छी नहीं है, तो या स्मार्ट सिटी की तरह नहीं है, whatever.
Right.
तो ये जितने भी करंट अफेयर्स में आइटम्स आए हैं, पंजाब ऑफ कोर्स ड्रग मिनेस, कहाँ से ड्रग मिनेस हुआ, क्यों इतने ड्रग का एडिक्शन हुआ, पाकिस्तान का क्या रोल है,
Right.
बॉर्डर में पंजाब का किस तरह से रोल रहा है, ड्रोन्स जो आते हैं पंजाब में उसके लिए आप क्या सजेस्ट करते हो,
Right.
है ना. सो फिर आप अपने इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग पे आ जाओ, पावर सेक्टर रिफॉर्म्स, and then I asked about Sydney, Rajya Sabha, and so on and so forth. एक पे आप 10-10 क्वेश्चंस बना लो,
Yes,
उसी
sir.
में से आएगा और कहाँ से आएगा.
Right.
और बाकी करंट अफेयर्स नेशनल इंटरनेशनल, दैट्स इट.
Right.
इकोनॉमिक्स एंड इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस ये थोड़ा सा स्पेसिफिक होते हैं. वन क्वेश्चन ईच इज आस्क्ड फ्रॉम बोथ ऑफ देम.
Yes, sir. Right.
So we have assessed you at about 64% today.
Okay, sir.
Which is in the very good category from UPSC point of view. So, but you are a 70 plus material.
I'll try to get there, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Nikhil, all the best.
Thank you so much.
All the best, Nikhil.
Thank you, sir.